Shalom and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today is Sunday, March 8th, 6 o'clock p.m. Jerusalem time. I am speaking to you live right now. Me too, guys. We are now in the middle of a war with Iran. There have been sirens in Jerusalem and alerts in the last few days, so I'm here with my cell phone. You can even see the time right now. I'm here with my cell phone. If my phone starts beeping with an alert, I'm going to leave. I'll apologize, but I won't be able to explain to you what's going on. But if you hear a beep or an alarm from my cell phone and see me leave, it's because of the missiles coming from Iran. And all of this is directly connected to what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about the current Iran-Israel-United States war. There are 13 countries involved in this war. What's happening is really striking, and we're going to talk about the war and also try to understand its biblical connections, especially what is related to the issue of Gog and Magog in Hebrew. So everyone, I want to thank all of you who are here on this live stream. We have a lot to talk about today, so if you're ready, let's get started. Guys, I want to first talk about current events, about the war that is happening right now in all its little details, and after that, everyone. We will also move on to our Bible reading, our biblical interpretation. But all the explanations I give now about the current war, pay attention to the smallest details, because that's what will connect with the prophecy of Gog and Magog and with everything we're going to talk about in relation to the Bible. The volume is low. Someone wrote to me here in the chat, so you can let me know if the volume is really low, if you can hear me well. For me, it seems that the microphone is indeed connected. It's normal, okay. I'll try to speak a little louder. If it's too quiet, you'll have to turn it up on your end, but most people are hearing me well. So everyone, our history with Iran, or rather the Israel-Iran war, didn't start today. It didn't start a week ago. This conflict started in 1979 with an Islamist coup. I'm going to talk about this very briefly, but it's important for us to understand this. I mean, in 1979, a far-left group, together with Islamists, staged a coup in Iran, expelled the royal family, and took power. The strength and the goal of these Islamists. Their logo, in fact, their slogan, the phrase they always say, is death to the United States and death to Israel. Since they took over 47 years ago, it's been the pursuit of the Iranian government, not the people, but the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. It was never about the good of Iran, the development of their country, the strength of their country. Instead, the goal is to destroy Israel and the United States, no matter the cost, and we are seeing what this is costing the Islamic Republic and, unfortunately, also some of the people of Iran. And Iran? Guys, Iran is very smart. The Iranian people are extremely intelligent, but the Islamic Republic is also smart. They knew from the beginning that fighting directly against Israel was a lost cause. All the countries that tried to fight against Israel since Israel's independence in 1948, all of them lost. Armies like the Egyptian one, which had a huge force, simply lost. Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and also troops were sent in the past from Iraq and other countries, and we see that all these countries lost. And that's why Iran's strategy in the past was never to attack Israel directly. Instead, what Iran created is what we call the Ring of Fire, or Circle of Fire, Tabat Esh. That means they will create enemy forces against Israel in the form of a circle coming from all four directions. Pay close attention to this. They created forces from all four directions with the goal of attacking Israel. So these are what we call proxies in English. They are the players acting on behalf of Iran, or rather the Islamic Republic. Everything I'm saying now refers to the Islamic Republic of Iran, not its people. So the Islamic Republic of Iran They financed, trained, and sent weapons to Hamas, which is located to the east of Israel. So on our eastern side, toward the Mediterranean Sea, is Hamas, which Iran prepared, armed, trained, and financed, including the massacres of October 7th. So on one side, we have Hamas. To the north of Israel, it's the same thing. They financed, trained, and supplied weapons to Hezbollah, which comes from the north of Israel, meaning what is nowadays southern Lebanon. On the other side, if we look to our east, there are the Shiite militias, which they once again trained, financed, and prepared, and these are found in Syria and Iraq. So the entire eastern side of Israel. And to the south, to complete this circle of fire, what Iran prepared were the Houthis in Yemen. So the south of Israel in Yemen, they prepared this circle of fire. So, Iran financed terrorist organizations on all four sides of Israel. Let's make it very clear that Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and the Shiite militias are all terrorist groups that fight to destroy Israel. And that has always been Iran's tactic. For decades and decades, for 45 years, Iran's tactic has been to attack Israel indirectly, carrying out attacks abroad and using these terrorist groups spread around Israel to attack Israel. And everything changes on April 13th, 2024. April 13th, 2024, a little less than 2 years ago, for the first time, Iran directly attacked Israel. They launched hundreds of projectiles toward Israel on the same day. These are ballistic missiles. We're talking about drones. We're talking about a large force that attacked Israel simultaneously. And that's why the first thing I want to do here is make an aside not related to the Bible, but related to current historical facts. For all those on the internet and also here, 1 or 2 people in the comments shouting, "Did Israel start the war with Iran?" The answer is no. Iran started the war with Israel on April 13th, 2024, when they attacked Israel. Thank God Israel's defense is fantastic. Besides God who protects us, the Israeli army is also one of the best in the world. And Israel managed to stop most of this attack, and the damage was relatively low in this attack, but it was a massive attack. And then this broke a historical precedent of there not being direct attacks. Iran launched the first attack in April, the second attack came later in October, and then Israel retaliated. The first 2 times just a little, and the third time Israel really retaliated in a much bigger way with what happened in June of 2025, which we call the 12-day war, when Israel attacked Iran and destroyed much of Iran's military and terrorist infrastructure. But it lasted 12 days, and after 12 days, Trump ordered it to stop. Trump? Yes. What happened is, the President of the United States decided to end this war. He imposed a ceasefire on both Iran and Israel and simply ended this conflict, but he didn't solve the problem. The problem is the Islamic Republic of Iran. And what happened is, now on February 28th, a little over a week ago, Israel and the United States together launched a major attack against the Islamic Republic. And that started the current conflict that we are experiencing these days. It just kept snowballing. From the beginning, with slogans like "Death to Israel, death to the United States," then financing terrorist groups, then attacking directly. And now we're seeing this big attack by the United States and Israel against Iran. And obviously, it's only against targets directly linked to the Islamic Republic. It's not against the Iranian people. Quite the opposite, in fact. We're seeing that a large part of the Iranian people, it's estimated that around 80% of the Iranian people support the Israeli and American military actions against the Islamic Republic of Iran. I mentioned this in my last live stream. How terrible does a government have to be for its people to go out into the streets singing and dancing when a leader is assassinated? When Israel eliminated Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Republic, what they call the supreme leader, When they eliminated the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ali Khamenei, the Iranian people went out to celebrate. Obviously, the Iranian population living in Iran, obviously they are tense, they are apprehensive. They are in the middle of a war, just as Israel is also at war, and we are apprehensive. But we see how the population, the majority of the Iranian population, yes, supports what is happening, because they also don't want to live under this dictatorship, this radical Islamic theocracy, which doesn't give rights to women, rights to religious minorities, or freedom of expression. None of what we know as Judeo-Christian values exist in today's Iran, and yes, they did exist until 1979. We can say that today's Iran is not the Iran of 1978. What is important for people to point out is this distinction between the government and the population. But what I need us to understand now regarding the biblical aspect for later is Iran was attacked, and in response they retaliated, and obviously everyone expected that Iran would retaliate. We didn't expect that they would just let their government fall. But what catches our attention is that Iran didn't just retaliate against Israel and the United States, but they retaliated against practically the entire Middle East. I mean, Israel, Qatar, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iraq, Oman, Syria, Azerbaijan, and British bases in Cyprus. Look at the list of countries, everyone. And these countries, most of them have no direct connection to this conflict. For example, Cyprus and Azerbaijan, I mean, if we look at this list, except for Cyprus, all of these are Muslim countries. I mean, Iran started attacking, in theory, those who should be their Muslim brothers. They simply started attacking Muslim countries, and many of these countries are Arab Muslim countries, and we start to wonder why. And we're really seeing a much bigger front that has opened up, much bigger than last year's war, the 12-day war. And this war, then, is on a much larger scale. And what military experts are saying is that the scale will grow even more if the countries being attacked start to retaliate. Because up until this moment, it's the United States and Israel attacking Iran, and Iran attacking everyone here in the neighborhood, even the countries that have absolutely nothing to do with the conflict directly. And many of these countries have already spoken out, condemned Iran's attacks, and said, "Why are you attacking us, targeting civilians?" For example, the United Arab Emirates, they attacked hotels, they attacked the UAE's civilian airport. We're seeing that these aren't just attacks on American bases. Oh, there's an American base in Qatar, let's attack the American base. No, these are attacks on civilian targets in Arab Muslim countries and also some others that aren't Arab Muslim countries. And the question is why? No one really understands what's going on in the minds of the Iranians, and also these Arab countries condemned these attacks, told Iran to stop, Iran apologized, asked for forgiveness, and attacked again. They've already apologized for the attacks and keep attacking, especially Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. They are, among themselves, also surprised by what's happening, but discussing a possible retaliation. Today it was said that maybe the United Arab Emirates have started to retaliate, but there isn't any concrete information yet. When we have it, I'll share it with you here. For now, this is still just speculation, but if these countries really get involved, we're talking about a completely different scenario, and maybe even a positive one. Because in the end, what we need, at least in the short to medium term, is the end of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and for Iran to go back to what it was before. But now, everyone, now that we understand the current situation a bit better, I want to talk to you about the war of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog in Hebrew. I sometimes pronounce it oddly in Portuguese, sorry. But the war of Gog and Magog is mainly based on the prophecies of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I brought here some passages, some Bible verses that I want to read with you. So just for us to understand the context, it's God speaking to the prophet Ezekiel and Ezekiel prophesying to Gog. This word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, turn your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws and bring you out. With all your army, your horses, your horsemen, fully armed, and a great multitude with large and small shields. All of them brandishing their swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya. They will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Gomer with all his troops. Ibet, Tor, Togarma from the far north with all his troops, many nations with you. This is a prophecy that speaks of a great battle started by Gog from the land of Magog against Israel. So this is the prophecy. And it talks about the joining of several peoples. Here, this version that I got, which is the NIV, the New International Version in Portuguese that I got, they already translate the names into their modern equivalents. But if we look at the Bible in the original, in Hebrew, it says that Cush, which is Ethiopia, Put, which is Libya, will join together. So we know that Ethiopia will join Libya and Persia. And here we need to see Persia will join Gog in the final battle against Israel. And who does Persia refer to? Iran. Guys, the name of Iran was Persia until 1935. I mean, until less than 100 years ago, the name of the country was Persia. And not just until 100 years ago, I mean, throughout all of biblical history up until practically today, the name of that region was Persia. So when it says that Persia will join Gog, we're definitely talking about Iran. There are many doubts regarding this prophecy. We'll talk about those doubts in a little while, but there are things that are very clear. One of the clearest things is that Persia, Iran will join this battle. But who will be the leader of this battle? Gog. We're not sure who he is, but what we do know is that he's from the land of Magog. And where is Magog? Now we have to look for historical sources. If we take, for example, Flavius Josephus, who was a historian here in Israel and lived precisely in the times of Jesus. I mean, he lived in the 1st century. In fact, Flavius Josephus writes about Jesus, he writes about John the Baptist. So we're talking about a person who lived, a historian who lived here in the 1st century, I mean, during the biblical period. And he writes the following about Magog. I'm going to read now the passage taken from the book of Flavius Josephus. Magog founded those who were called Magogites after him, but who are called Scythians by the Greeks. So it is written that from Magog came a people called the Magogites, but the Greeks call them Scythians. And we know who the Scythians are, guys. The Scythians are real people. We have a lot of historical and archaeological evidence of the Scythians. We have findings, literally findings, of 2 Scythians, I mean 2 Magogites, at least according to Flavius Josephus, who is one of the best historical sources we have about Israel. And the Scythians were an ancient, nomadic, equestrian people, which means they were known for riding horses. That also makes sense if we look at the Bible, which says that the soldiers will come riding on their horses. So they were a nomadic Iranian equestrian people. Guys, the Scythians are of Iranian origin. Besides referring to the physical region where Iran is today, Iranian also refers to a people, literally an ethnicity. So the Scythians, they were originally Iranians. And then in the 9th and 8th centuries before Christ, that is, before Ezekiel wrote the prophecy, these people migrated to the north. So imagine in Iran, they start migrating to the north, which makes a lot of sense for a nomadic people. And they migrate to the north, mainly to the region of Central Asia, Ukraine, and Russia. Guys, the Scythians lived in what is now Russia. But where are the Scythians nowadays? They disappeared because they assimilated, they integrated with the peoples who already lived in those regions. So that means the Scythians, for example, integrated with the Slavic peoples and founded what is now Russia. And it's not Aline saying this, it's the Russians themselves. If you look at Russian historical literature, if you go to museums in Russia, and they talk about their own historical and ethnic origins, they will say, we are Slavs, but we are also Scythians. So look how impressive that is. An Iranian people who migrated to the north and became part of what is now Russia. So if we follow this historical analysis, it makes a lot of sense that the land of Magog corresponds to what is now, at least in part, Russia. It would be in southwestern Russia, where the Moscow region is also located, in Russia's central administrative region. This region was strongly influenced by the Scythians and populated by their descendants. I hope you can follow along. I know it's a lot of information, but we're trying to put together a puzzle here to understand this prophecy based on historical, archaeological, and biblical sources. So we're here putting this puzzle together. And this fits very well with Ezekiel 38:15, which talks about an enemy coming from the far north. See, it doesn't just say the north, because we have enemies to the north. We have, for example, Syria itself, Lebanon itself, all that region that historically were enemies of Israel. But the prophecy of Gog and Magog says they are coming from the far north, and far to Israel's north is precisely the region that includes this specific area of Russia, which was the land of the Scythians. This also fits with something else, which is the genealogy in Genesis. Look here. Because if we look at Genesis 10, verse 2, it says the following. These were the sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshesh, and Tiras. I mean, here it says that Magog is a descendant of Japheth. And when we look at Russia in particular, and generally when we talk about Europe, the peoples of the far north, we say that they are descendants of Japheth. So we can't say that, for example, the region of Magog is the... Let's look at another historical enemy of Israel. Oh, Iraq. Is Iraq Magog? No, the people of Iraq are not descended from Japheth. They are a Semitic people, just like Israel is also a Semitic people. We can't look at Ethiopia and say that Ethiopia is Magog, because the Ethiopians are descended from Ham. We're talking about the three sons of Noah, right? So we have the descendants of Shem, we have the descendants of Ham, and we have the descendants of Japheth. So when we talk about Japheth, we're talking about Magog, and we're talking about the peoples that come from regions 2, 3, 4, and 7. So this also fits at this point. And now that we have all these pieces of our puzzle, I want to read more of the prophecy to you. So let's continue here in verse 14. Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy and say to Gog, this is what the sovereign Lord says. On that day, when Israel, my people, is living in safety, won't you notice that? You will come from your place from the far north, you accompanied by many nations, all of them mounted on horses. A great multitude, a vast army. Will you advance against Israel, my people? like a cloud covering the earth. In the days to come, O Gog, I will bring you against my land, so that the nations may know me when I show myself holy through you in their sight. When Gog attacks Israel, will my fury be aroused? The word is from the sovereign Lord. In my zeal and in my great fury, I declare that at that time there will be a great earthquake in Israel. Look at this, a great earthquake in Israel. The fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the great animals of the field, every creature that crawls on the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. The mountains will be brought down, the cliffs will collapse, and all the walls will fall. I will summon the sword against Magog. Throughout all my mountains, declares the sovereign Lord. Each man's sword will be against his brother.
Behind me are 400 truckloads of Temple Mount soil that were illegally dumped in 1999 like trash. But two archaeologists refused to let it disappear. They rescued the soil and created the Temple Mount Sifting Project. Today, over 500,000 artifacts have been recovered. Pottery from Solomon's temple, coins from Jesus' time, pieces of history that were meant to be lost forever. Now you can be part of this rescue mission, get authentic Temple Mount soil delivered to your door, and help keep biblical archaeology alive. Scan the QR code or use the link below.
I will execute judgment upon him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hail, and burning sulfur upon him, his troops, and the many nations that are with him. And in this way I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known among many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. It's a difficult, weighty passage, but we have a few more pieces of the puzzle. It talks about great earthquakes that will happen, about a great earthquake. And geologically, that makes sense. Israel is located on one of the largest tectonic faults in the world. If you look at the map of Israel, guys, you'll see that on one side there's a line, the border. The border between Israel and Jordan is practically a straight line, and that straight line is the fault, guys, because the border follows a division, a natural fault. And that's why the Sea of Galilee isn't actually a sea, guys. The Sea of Galilee is a lake, a freshwater lake that is 200 meters below sea level. The Dead Sea is also located in this rift, and it is the lowest place on Earth. We're talking about 430 meters below sea level. Why is the Dead Sea the lowest place on Earth? Because the two plates meet there and they are moving apart. One is moving north, the other is moving south. And in some places where the plates move apart a little, they create this great valley, which is the Jordan Valley, starting up in the far northern region. At the peak at the top of Mount Hermon, 2,200 meters high, and a fault opens up there. The Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and it goes all the way to the end of Israel and Eilat. So there is a major tectonic fault, and that's why Israel is extremely prone to earthquakes. In fact, not too long ago here on the channel, I made a video talking about the tectonic fault, which has a branch that goes up to Jerusalem and reaches the south of the Mount of Olives. This could also be connected, for example, with the prophecies of Zechariah. So we have a territory that is very prone to earthquakes. The earthquake hasn't happened yet, but if it does, it won't surprise any scientist. And there's a verse, a part of what I read that I want you all to pay close attention to. Each man's sword will be against his brother. In the context of what we read, that means Israel's enemies will start attacking each other. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening right now. Iran attacked Israel, but Iran is also attacking other countries that are enemies of Israel. For example, Qatar. Qatar is one of Israel's biggest enemies nowadays. Qatar is one of the main financiers of Hamas. In Qatar, until recently, the Hamas leadership was based there. That is the central headquarters. The leadership of Hamas was in Qatar. And there are still Hamas members among us. Some are still in Qatar to this day. So Qatar, which is an enemy of Israel, and Iran, which is also an enemy of Israel, are attacking each other. Saudi Arabia as well, which has always been the leader of the Arab League in the fight against Israel, they are also being attacked by Iran. We are seeing a fight between these countries with one another, countries that have historically been enemies of Israel. Some have already made peace agreements with Israel, some of them, like the United Arab Emirates and Jordan, but others have not. We can see that we still have serious problems with Syria. We have problems with Lebanon. We have problems with several other countries that are being attacked. So we are being attacked, but our enemies are also being attacked by one another. That has never happened in any war involving Israel until today. Until now. Until this conflict started a little over a week ago. In all the wars, these enemies of Israel would unite and attack Israel. And this time, we're seeing that they're attacking each other. Like I told you at the beginning, it doesn't make any sense. Nobody understands why Iran is doing this. But it's a fact that Iran is attacking countries that are not friends of Israel. On the contrary, Israel's enemies are being attacked in this conflict. Not just Israel's enemies, Cyprus is a friend, and there are other friendly countries, but enemies are also being targeted. And this is something really strange to say the least. And as I said, we can see an escalation of the conflict between these countries. If, for example, the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia decide to retaliate against Iran. And I think that if Iran keeps attacking them, it's only a matter of time before they retaliate. Maybe not in a huge way at first, but I think, how much can a country take being attacked every day without retaliating, without doing absolutely anything? So we really have to wait for the next few days to see how things develop. But what we do know is that Magog is the north of Israel, maybe the region of present-day Russia. But who is Gog? Who is this leader who is organizing the nations against Israel? And for that, we can read the book of Revelation. I brought it here for us to read as well, Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 to 9. Revelation. When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations that are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the earth. Revelation. This verse doesn't say exactly that Gog is Satan, but it says that the one behind all of this is Satan. Look how impressive this is. I mean, this great battle that will be fought against Israel is being planned, encouraged, and created by Satan himself. And this same verse also says that Israel will be attacked from the four corners of the earth. And this is something we talk about incessantly here in Israel, and we shout it to the world, and sometimes it feels like we're shouting in an empty room, that people don't listen to us. When we talk about the anti-Israel movement from the four corners of the world, it's astonishing. And I can tell you my opinion, for example, about October 7th. The massacre of October 7th was a terrible massacre. There are no words to describe it. But the massacre came from Hamas, which is a group that has always said it wants the extermination of Israel and its entire population, including women, children, and the elderly. So Hamas has always said that. But what surprises me is that after the massacre of October 7th, we see people from all over the world celebrating the massacre of October 7th. Even the wife of the mayor of New York, Mamdani, it has now been discovered that she also celebrated the massacre of October 7th. But we're talking about people from all over the world celebrating the massacre of October 7th, justifying it, saying, no, this isn't a fight against Israel. This is a pro-Palestinian struggle. This is a resistance struggle. And trying to justify it, we see students at universities also in Brazil, also in the United States, in many universities around the world, really protesting against Israel with all their strength and with all their soul, and chanting, globalize the Intifada. Intifada means armed attacks against Israel, inspired by the first and second Intifadas. So people from all corners of the world shouting death to Israel, destruction of Israel, and this is something that really astonishes us and catches our attention. And we also see governments around the world being hostile to Israel. While Israel is being attacked, and attacked, the government's saying, no, no, Israel cannot defend itself in this way. It's disproportionate. We see these attacks, also the Ring of Fire that we mentioned, that Israel is literally on all four sides, north, south, east, and west, being attacked from all four fronts. So we see this ring nearby, but also this ring that moves away from these demonstrations, also attacks against Jewish and Israeli organizations around the world. We saw synagogues set on fire in Australia and an attack on the Jewish Federation in Porto Alegre, Brazil. We also saw in recent weeks attacks on synagogues and Jewish centers in the United States. We're seeing it in France, Belgium, and don't even get me started on the Netherlands. We're seeing these attacks. We see it all over the world, and in the end, it's always directed against Israel. I see this circle of fire. I see this movement against Israel, this hatred toward Israel, which logically doesn't make sense. Criticizing Israel obviously is something you can do, guys. I have my own criticisms of Israel, of the Israeli government, and that's something legitimate. But when people shout for Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, which means we're going to erase Israel from the map, because from the river to the sea, that's exactly where Israel is located. When people around the world shout, let's erase Israel from the map and build Palestine in its place. When we see this hatred against Israel and people in North Korea, against Russia, against China, I mean, against so many things that are happening in the world, people don't shed a single tear for the Christians who have been massacred for years in Nigeria, in Congo, in the attacks against Christians in Egypt. I mean, with everything that's happening, with all that's happening, people don't shed a tear for these people or for those in Iran. In January of this year, everyone between 36,000 and 43,000 Iranians were massacred by the government, by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Everyone. Listen carefully. Around 40,000 Iranians were killed by the Iranian government, and no one said a word. But everyone always has something to say to criticize Israel. And that's why when I see this, it's not good for humanity. We see that most people who attack Israel, not just criticize, but attack Israel, do so without caring about any of the other problems in the Middle East, like the civil war in Yemen. It seems like they ignore all of that, and that's why I really see that there's something or someone behind it all manipulating everything. The book of Revelation itself says that the one who will do all of this is Satan himself. So, with all of this, is Gog and Magog happening right now? And the answer is, we can't know for sure. If you wanted me to come here and tell you Gog and Magog is happening, I'm not a prophetess. I can't tell you that. What we can do is turn to the Bible, which is the best book we have to understand the future of Israel and the future of the world. And that's why we have all these points in favor of at least a partial fulfillment that we've talked about so far. But we also can't ignore the doubts that exist in this text, doubts that we still don't have answers to. For example, when we read in Revelation 20, it is written, when the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison. This text, everyone says that Gog and Magog will be after the millennium. So can we say that we've already passed the millennium at this point? I'll leave that question for you, everyone, for those who are interested in eschatology. If we're talking about Gog and Magog right now, we look at Revelation and we're saying that the millennium has already arrived. So that's a big question. So according to this verse, it could also be that the time of Gog and Magog hasn't really come yet. What we do know is that Israel will be attacked, but mainly that there will be God's victory. And this is the passage from Revelation that I like, everyone. God's victory will come, and the victory of God's people. God will save his people and will save Israel. And that's why, if there's anyone here who wishes for the destruction of Israel, I can tell you, you can read it in the Bible. The Bible already gives us the answer. It doesn't matter when this war happens. The victory belongs to God, and the victory belongs to Israel. So no matter how much they try to destroy Israel, as they have tried, and keep trying, they won't succeed. Unfortunately, these attempts cause a lot of suffering, both for the people of Israel and for the people of the countries that attack Israel, because no war will happen without human suffering. In fact, the Bible talks about wars. It repeatedly mentions the human suffering that these wars will bring. But if I can say one more thing here, actually two more things that I want to tell you. First, God is in control of everything. I can't tell you how it's going to happen, but I can tell you who's in control. And it's not the government of Israel, it's not the government of Iran, it's not Trump. Control is in God's hands. And if we want to better understand what will happen, it is indeed important to look at Israel. Israel really is the world's clock. And whether Gog and Magog is happening now or not, we will have to wait and see. But Israel is the world's clock, and without a doubt, a historic moment is unfolding. Because the Islamic Republic of Iran is the head of the snake. When we look specifically at all the wars that have been fought in Israel in recent decades, the wars in Lebanon, the wars in Gaza, the wars with everything we're seeing, the terrorist attacks, everything we've been seeing in recent decades is Iran's doing. The first and second Lebanon wars, everyone, were direct interference from Iran. We're talking about the second Lebanon war, which was to expel Hezbollah, a group directly organized and financed by Iran. If we look at the massacre of October 7, 2023, and all the war that followed, this was a war caused by Hamas, which is financed by Iran. So if the Islamic Republic of Iran falls, a large part of the terrorist groups in the Middle East will fall too, especially the terrorist groups that seek the destruction of Israel. If the Islamic Republic of Iran falls today, tomorrow, even if it's in a month or in a year, when the Islamic Republic falls, it will be a day of joy for the entire Middle East, not just for Israel. And all the wars we're seeing have Iran's involvement, not just the ones directly connected to Israel. Everyone. The civil war in Yemen. Who is funding it? Who is funding the civil war in Yemen? Iran. Who funded Assad in Syria, who killed more than 500,000 people? It was Iran. The one funding the Middle East conflicts against Israel, and also some that are not directly related to Israel, is Iran. When Iran falls, guys, and the Middle East will be a much more peaceful place. And that's why I started talking about this in the last live stream, and I'll have to finish talking about it in this one. This could be the final war, either because of Gog and Magog, or maybe if we look at it in a simpler way, because literally the axis of evil will fall and we will live in a more peaceful world. So everyone, what I want to tell you is God is in control. God has the victory. And when the Islamic Republic falls, when Iran has its freedom, when the Iranian people can choose their own leaders, the Middle East will be a much better place. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives will be saved when that happens. Iranian, Israeli, Syrian, Lebanese, and Yemeni lives from all over the Middle East. And we're getting closer to that moment, everyone. We're reaching an amazing historic moment. And I truly hope I can see this with my own eyes. I hope I can go out into the streets in Israel and celebrate with the Iranians. We have around 200,000 Iranians living in Israel nowadays. There's a huge Iranian diaspora all over the world. They will be able to celebrate. The Iranians in Iran will be able to as well. And we really will live in a better world, God willing, with the fall of the Islamic Republic. So everyone, wherever you're watching from, pray for the well-being of the Iranian people. Pray for the end of terrorism. Pray for the end of the Islamic Republic. May Iran free itself. And that way, the whole Middle East will be able to live in much greater peace. Thank you. I thank everyone who watched this live and see you again with more updates on what's happening. Shalom.